Good morning, everyone. I think we're going to be a small group today, so we're going to have some interactions. So you're going to have opportunity to discuss with our panelists today. But first, I would like to thank the MEDays Forum under the high patronage of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. May God assist him for this invitation and for the remarkable quality of the event. And I would like also to thank all the people that are behind this event. So please, big round of applause for all the MEDays people that have been making it possible today. Thank you very much. We need to make more sound today because apparently we're in competition with the next room, right? So today, we are on the session 9 called Cryptocurrency, Navigating the Future of Digital Finance. Over the past decade, of course, crypto blockchain have gone from niche experiments to real policies, questions affecting monetary sovereignty, cross-border trade, financial inclusion, and global governance. Today, we're going to not only explore what these technologies can do, but most importantly, who we want to become as a digital economy. And to guide us, we have two exceptional thinkers, James Fierro. He will introduce himself, but a fintech pioneer, advisor to governments and central banks on digital identity, mobile finance, and trust framework. And Richard Sechi, my dear friend from Ivory Coast, blockchain entrepreneur, founder of the Web3 and stablecoin ecosystem across Africa, leading innovation in cross-border transactions and decentralized finance. So before we dive into the technical and regulatory complexity, we'll start with a big question first. Then one question each, then we're all going to open to the audience. You'll have the opportunity to ask some questions. We'll have around 10 minutes. Then we'll go to round 2. So so you'll have the opportunity to make sure that you have, please brief your questions so that we can have as many questions as possible. And then we'll go round 2, and again, we'll have a lot of time for questions. Okay? So first, a big round of applause for James and Richard, please, for being here today. Thank you. We're gonna ask you to upload more often. So James, based on your experience as advising regulators and building digital finance systems, today, 2025, almost 2026, are cryptocurrencies a genuine alternative to traditional finance, or are they still largely speculative assets waiting to be corrected?
So the short answer is no. They're not really a realistic instrument for as a replacement for currency or money. Here, I'll sit up a little more. I can give you a bit of context for this, but first of all, I'll just give you a high-level view. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Occupy Wall Street. Do you remember this was a protest that happened 10 or 15 years ago, and it was started by one ad in the Wall Street Journal of a bull with a ballerina standing on it, and in the background was a bunch of protesters. That ad triggered 3,400 cities in the world to organize protests around this concept of Occupy Wall Street. And it was an incredible movement, and if you studied that movement, you will see that it was all about economic injustice. So all the signs were about, I'm the 1%, the 99% is, we're the 99%, and we can't pay our fees, and we can't survive in the current, my student loans are overburdened, and it was all about economic injustice, okay. And so this was an incredible movement that happened in 6 weeks, 3,400 cities. I mean, it was extraordinary. So, and it was all about economic injustice. So people feel the pain of the way the global economy has evolved and structured, and it comes to a fundamental problem around money, which I will elaborate on a little bit later. But the movement now around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and the latest version of it, the stablecoin fever, these are all just similar manifestations, okay? That people when the Occupy Wall Street, when I was studying it, I got a hold of a professor who studies protests. And I said, why are these people doing this? I mean, what an extraordinary movement. He said, well, look, people only protest for one reason. And I said, oh, what's that? He said, they're angry. Because they have to get out of their comfort zone. And I said, well, what are they angry at? He said, well, read the signs. and as we did that, again, it really boiled down to economic injustice. So, fast forward to 2009, Bitcoin comes into existence. And we see this similar kind of fever. The whole world jumps on this. And the question you have to ask is why? And my belief is that the reason is that people are so affected by the economic injustice. They were just praying and hoping. They heard, oh, this is decentralized, take the power away from the people who are holding all the money, and it's a more fair economic system, and it can be done in a more fair and equitable way. Well, everyone who cared about economic injustice was jumping on that bandwagon. However, when you do a proper analysis, an economic analysis of these concepts of money, they're fundamentally flawed, right? I mean, if you're going to ever have a currency, you want to receive payment in something you actually trust, right? And what is trust based on? It's on very basic things. First of all, you want to have a money that, is stable, because, last thing you want to do is see volatility, especially if you're in business, but you don't want to get paid in something and then tomorrow it's worth half of what it was. So volatility is an issue, right? And of course, these cryptocurrencies, all 40,000 of them, they're highly volatile. And the second thing is you start then going, well, who's the lender of last resort? Who stands behind this? Who is there if for some reason there's an issue? Well, there isn't one. And so you say, oh yeah, but it's decentralized. Oh, no. Is that something we can have trust in? I don't think so. You just look at where people put their money today. They don't put it in, a decentralized world. Okay, there's, a few $100 billion that have moved in there, but it's unfortunately a little bit of the, the other one is that there's a lot of criminal activity. I mean, this is heaven for criminals, because they're like, oh wow, semi-anonymous, and so those are not confidence-building ideas around money, and so, like I said, crypto's not the answer, and if people think that a coin or a token or a code is something that is going to be an ultimate foundation for money are asking the wrong questions. And so the quick overall summary is those instruments are highly speculative. They lack key elements of trust. But what they have done, which is extraordinary, a little bit like the Occupy Wall Street, is they garnered the interest of people all over the world to hope that maybe this is an answer for that economic injustice. Regardless if it's not, it drove massive innovation. And so the innovation that has happened over the last 15 years as a result of this is second to none. It's just absolutely extraordinary. And there will be things come that will be the answer. And I've been spending 3 decades, 15 years before Bitcoin, trying to tackle what I came to believe is the biggest systemic problem on the planet that is holding back people, business, and governments from realizing their potential. And that problem is actually money. The way the money system has evolved and what it's become are very different from what it was originally created for. Money was created just as a medium of exchange. It was shells and tally sticks. Over time, it became precious. It became valuable. You hoarded it. You could borrow it, lend it, earn interest, do forwards, do derivatives. I'll just give you 3 data points. Today, There's 1,800 trillion a year in monetary transactions around the world. 1,800 trillion. I mean, it's almost incomprehensible to get your head around what even a trillion is. 1,800 trillion. So of that 1,800 trillion, less than 15% of it is real economy trade. It's all money trading for money. Money's release on life today is to make money from money. So if you have money and you're running a fund or you're a sovereign wealth fund, everything is about how do you get the best adjusted risk return on that money. So that's what money's purpose in life is today. There's so many paths to make money from money that it is at the heart of why money is not coming to Africa and will not come to Africa. It is why money is not going to climate, even though the whole world says we have a climate problem. There's a 4 trillion a year gap. No, money's not coming because money has too many other things it can do to make money. So the core problem that needs to be addressed is not fintech and not the, I mean, you know, like I said, the crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain evolution has been fantastic in that it's created awareness that there could be alternatives. And so I probably said already way too much, but I'll leave it at that just to trigger some thinking around the discussion to come.
Thank you, James. Thank you for the perspective. I think we're going to take a different perspective. Money is making money, clearly.
Yeah.
Money and the fiduciary is actually the best innovation ever, right? Because actually you can touch it, you can feel it, you have an emotion to it. But the crypto actually brought something else, right? And Richard, from a different perspective on your experience on the ground, I mean, is it just about ideology, speculation, or is it actually simple necessity? Is it actually solving some real problems for us in the market, specifically around remittance and things like that? What's your views on that? Because you're actually a crypto expert in that space also.
All right, thank you. So I think there's one thing I agree with James on, is that we believe fundamentally that the system and money is fundamentally broken. And I think that when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrency, it is not a perfect answer, but it is an evolving answer. And ultimately, because it is evolving, it is providing some answers that might fit or might answer a few critical challenges. So that's the very first thing I wanted to outline. The second thing is that not billion, 1.2 trillion, that is actually going through mobile money. So that's huge. It tells you that in the last 10, 15 years, since the M-Pesa revolution in Kenya and the explosion of mobile money operators throughout African countries, we've seen that real change. Now, there's been a reality is that in our context in African economies, we're facing challenges that are a little bit, different from what, other citizens can experience. One of these challenges is inflation. We have very high inflation in countries, like Nigeria, for example, and other countries. And this has triggered a search for relatively stable money. So we are in some countries where, for example, we have unstable banking system, we have high inflation. So what happened is that people were looking for, or are still looking at crypto as a way to actually hedge against inflation. So you have, stable coins, you have crypto that actually use. So that's really one good fundamental case for retail. So retail essentially today, you and me, whether I am in Togo, in Kenya, in Nigeria, if I consider that I am in a country where I have, for example, 3 dirham can maybe buy me a pot of yogurt, and 2 years later, that pot of yogurt becomes 20 dirhams. So I would most likely, not use the dirham, and we probably want to use, USDT or USDC and ensure that actually my money maintains its value. So that has been one big fundamental case. And today, when you look at the global adoption of cryptocurrency in general, out of the 20 top countries, 3 countries are already, are from Africa. Other than India, the second country with the highest adoption of blockchain is Nigeria, for example. So you have Nigeria, you have Kenya, you have South Africa. So it might mean that people find some real utility behind that. Another case, for example, is remittances, for example. So you can see that, there's a study that came out that said that remittances basically sent through crypto rails bring between 40 to 80% in terms of fees reduction, basically. So it has saved, in the last decade, Africa between 2 to 4 billion US dollars. So that's also something that matters. And in fact, what you're going to see is that whether in the Western markets, in Asian markets, you have a lot of institutional buy-in. In Africa, the cases are more about savings, about remittances, at least for the retail level. So that's one case. The second is about businesses. So of course, business, they transact globally, and they're looking for cheaper ways to be able to, pay for suppliers in X country to be able to transact and do business. And stablecoin is more and more recognized as a means of doing that in a cheaper way, in a faster way. You don't have to go through your bank, and just have all this process and documentation going on. And that's something that is also worthy to mention. My point today is that you need to make a distinction between blockchain being the technology and crypto, right? Okay, we have today, digital cash is here to stay, and it's going to evolve. And whether some part of that digital cash runs through blockchain rails, it will definitely. And we're seeing, that through stablecoin. Stablecoin is going to be a $200 billion. It's a $200 billion currently, but it's going to be $1 trillion by 2030. So there's definitely some use for that. But now crypto, of course, has its own way of being. A lot of it is about speculation and volatility, which I agree of, but it definitely has some other use case. So I think it's still an open question about, really whether it's going to be a winner and whether it's going to, replace or fundamentally alter our current financial system. But it's just 16 years. 16 years since blockchain, since Bitcoin came. And for me, 16 years is a tiny bit of time. You can't have a definitive answer in 60 years. It's barely a child, it's not even analog. So you need to give it some more time to see how it's going to evolve, and I'm sure it's going to evolve positively at some point of time. It's going to feel some need. So the answer is still out there for me.
Thank you, Richard. So the 99% on one side and the necessity actually of Africa to use actually the crypto. So I would like to take some reaction from the audience. But before that, maybe raise your hand who thinks crypto is the next financial system, please. So that I can see a little bit. And raise your hand if you think this is not actually, it's a very risky parallel financial system. So there's a lot of people here, they're not raising their hands at all. I don't know if you're from which university or else, but So let's take some question. Let's take some point first from the people who thinks. Let's take from question. Maybe the mic here around. Why do you think it's actually? Please react to the question, and please also state your name, please. If you can state your name, which organization, and ask your question. Thank you. And the students, please. We need you to be engaged. Mine. It's working. Just talk. Just talk. It's okay. Just try mine for now.
I'm thankful for the quality of interventions. So my name is Mohammed. I'm an international business coach. My question is for Mr. Richard Sechi. You are informing us about the reality that we have 3 countries from Africa, from the 20 leaders in the world for blockchain and cryptocurrency tendency. So who are those 3 countries, please? Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take one more question from the people who do not think that actually it's the real financial system. So people who actually raised their hand, they were like quite, yes. Lady there, please. Then we'll let you answer this question, then we'll ask another round of questions, okay?
Thank you very much. My name is Marissa Khurma from Amana Strategies based in Washington. So 2 points that I want to hone in on, the trust factor, and I wonder if there's a generational component to it, precisely because of what you mentioned, Mr. Fierro, with regards to this same sentiment that was inspired by the lack of economic justice. And why there is a little bit more hope that perhaps crypto can address that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, let's go ahead.
Yes, so very, very quickly, the 3 countries, we have Nigeria, we have South Africa, and we have Kenya. So basically, this country were ranked by a study done by Chain Analysis, basically saying that part of the top 20 in terms of global crypto adoption. So one thing also that is very worthy, for example, when you look at Nigeria, for example, it's estimated that between 40 to 70% of individuals actually in Nigeria actually have had at some point of time, either a cryptocurrency or have interacted with blockchain rates.
Yes, and indeed, actually, the first, so I was working for Naspers at that time, the first exchange in Africa was around 2015 or 2016, if I remember, in South Africa. And then they moved their license to Singapore because actually the regulation was not ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
James?
Is there a generational factor in relation to crypto adoption and belief, if you will, in the religion of Bitcoin? And there's absolutely no question that youth who are feeling the pain of the economic injustice, perhaps even to a greater degree, are the ones who are hopeful that this could be a solution. And all the young developers that have devoted a big part of their life to that hope, certainly are a part of it. The unfortunate thing about all of that is, if you're familiar with Bill Gates' comment about Bitcoin, I don't know if you're familiar with what a pyramid scheme is, but it's where someone promotes you buying into something, and then you get paid by the people below you, and then as long as there's people keep coming in, you're making money. But the moment that it stops, it's a problem. So everyone, it's like musical chairs. Everyone is running for the chairs, but there's only a small number of chairs. And so it's this theory of, Gates comments about the theory of the greater fool. So it's all fine. All of the crypto in the world is fine as long as there's someone dumber than you to come in after you. But if that were to stop for any reason, criminal activity, a crash, it'll be a pretty sad day for a lot of youth around the world.
Interesting. Mostly speculative, right, in terms of how we're using it. But at the same time, I'll come back to Richard maybe, if actually that goes the same for the financial system today. If we have a digital, switch off, then we'll have the same problem, right?
Look, your comment about digital money is here to stay. There's no question. We have to have, it's the only sensible thing is digital money. It's what's efficient. But we've had digital money for a very long time. Visa is digital money. And the founder of Visa has been, one of my almost 20-year mentors, and in my search for a solution to this problem. And when I originally thought this was about, trying to do real economy trade without money of any kind. Because if you go back into the beginning of trade, you traded what you had for what you wanted. And so that was the most efficient. Believe it or not, that is the lowest friction, lower than Bitcoin trades, lower than blockchain trades. The lowest possible friction in a trade is a barter trade. Because you have something I want, I have something you want, we do a swap. There's no paperwork, there's no FX, it's extremely efficient. The problem is, you don't have what I want, but you want what I have. So we can't do a trade. You don't get to realize, I don't get to realize you as demand because you don't have a way of paying me, I accept. And so the solution to that problem was you'd go to your neighbor and the neighbor had something I wanted and we'd do a multi-party trade. And of course the real solution was the invention of the souk and the bazaar, where we'd all bring our stuff and we'd go there and we would swap very easily with each other, multi-party trades. Well, today that is the electronic marketplace. What do electronic marketplaces do? They do 4 very basic things: search, communicate, transact, and settle. Those 4 things have created the greatest wealth in the history of mankind. All of the biggest S&P, whether it's Google, Airbnb, Alibaba, Amazon, they're all just marketplaces. I mean, I founded one of the first ones that was a unicorn in 1997. It was just a marketplace called homegrocer.com. You buy groceries on the internet, we deliver them to your home. But it was it was an interface taking advantage of the internet, ubiquitous connectivity, search, communicate, transact, and settle. So this whole world of how can we trade more efficiently? The lowest friction is still a barter trade, but I thought we could maybe do it without currency. And so I was embarking on an AI endeavor with a company 25 years ago called Firefly, and then later with IBM's Watson Group, and we were looking at, could we just do? And today it's actually quite wonderful. I love it. Within the crypto world, they're now talking about these things called atomic settlements, and it's where one party over here has a form of credit, or a crypto, and the other one over here has a different one, and they somehow want something that this one has, but this one doesn't want what that one has, and so they're doing multi-party settlements. It's fantastic. So I was trying to do that with real stuff, real goods. Could we, even though this guy's got a cow and this person's got chickens, that guy with the chickens wants the cow, but the cow doesn't want the chickens, but there's somebody in between that wants the chickens, and so we couldn't do it. We tried for 2 years. And the problem was that money serves a couple important roles. It has divisibility. So if I want to trade this for a chicken, well, I can't cut this into a little piece. It's $1,000. I can't take a tiny little sliver of it and then trade it because it's not divisible. So money plays a very important role. Another very important development with the crypto world is the structure and design of these various tokens and coins have divisibility. So it plays a great role. So I concluded we couldn't do it without money, but that would have been the lowest friction type of trade. And today with AI, maybe it can be done, at least to some degree. And then you could settle the remainder, the parts that you can't split up with some kind of instrument. Yeah, anyhow, again,
Thanks. Actually, I would challenge, first of all, that Visa and MasterCard, and actually they are already intermediaries in that whole system, right? So actually a lot of that value is captured by them. And maybe Richard is talking about disintermediation, right? And the second point, and I'm going to challenge you again, and I would like the audience also to respond, is that maybe it needs a full paradigm shift, right? Because you talk about trading as a bargain, as a barter at the basis, but actually maybe we need to move towards a universal income where we don't need to trade actually to have these necessities to survive, right? So therefore, maybe credits and trust is done differently, right? So any question first from the audience, first on James and James.
I was just going to add one little quick comment to this. I was saying that digital money has existed for a long time. Of course it has. And in fact, M-Pesa was one of the greatest success stories in digital money and financial inclusion. And again, they were doing that before Bitcoin was even announced. And so, yes, there's many important needs that are starting to be fulfilled by Bitcoin, even though it's not an instrument that you can technically trust, really. Yet the underlying cryptography of the blockchain is highly trustworthy, but the economic model and design is where the failure is. And so stablecoin, as I said earlier, is kind of, there's this fever around stablecoin because, oh, that is stable. Well, it's not. It's still pegged to the US dollar in the case of Tether. Well, the dollar, I think, has lost, what, 13% of its value against other main currencies this year? Well, that's not very stable. And so, yeah, well, so.
Thank you. Richard, you want to add something before I go to the audience?
Yes, I think some of the points that James is highlighting definitely are valuable. But again, just like I emphasized earlier, you always need to maintain the difference between the technology and the use cases. Okay, so what basically you have when you look at blockchain, blockchain was basically created based on a fundamental set of principles. As one of the principles was that it was basically supposed to be trustless. Okay, and what does this mean? It means basically, okay, if in the past I have to do a transaction, okay, I need to rely on a number of third parties to be able to do that. So let me take an example. For example, if I want to, for example, pay for an e-commerce platform today, I will fetch out my MasterCard, I will enter my details, right? And who do I trust to be able to pay for me on my behalf? That merchant, let's say, for example, Amazon. I will trust Visa, MasterCard to do that, right? The promise of blockchain is, let's make it in a way that is trustless, that it can be publicly traced in a way that is verifiable. So I don't necessarily need these intermediaries anymore, I can have my own money and I can host it in my own wallet. I don't need a bank to do that. I can initiate my own transaction so that I know who's getting paid. The other party can verify it on the ledger and see if I have paid. So to me, buy and sell. And of course, we've seen how volatile cryptocurrencies can be. But my point is that blockchain has such fundamental and great promise that it's going to keep evolving. So the jury is still out there. Now, one thing that you've seen in terms of the trends for the last 14 to 15 years, you've seen waves, basically, of solutions and use cases being built. You had Bitcoin, then people said, okay, Bitcoin is great, but we cannot do decentralized finance contracts. Then you had Ethereum that came up. Then from Ethereum, you had the whole explosion of decentralized finance. You have NFTs with digital art, which explode. Then you keep having these different waves. Now, where do we stand today right now is, I would say we come kind of seeing the golden age of stable coins, okay? And the idea is that you have the possibility, and we've seen that recently with the passage of the Genius Act. James was making a comment saying, for example, that dollar has lost 13% of its inflation, but that's the point. It's because people in Nigeria are saying, not the dollar, but the naira losing 30% year on year, that they are actually able to, find a safer way to not lose the value of fiat, of paper money. So indirectly, it actually, ends us a little bit of, hey, why not? It can be useful to some extent. You are seeing today beyond that what is called, and that's really what I want to point out, the tokenization of real-world assets. And to me, that's something that's fundamentally great. Essentially, tokenization, for those who are not familiar with it, says something very simple. It means that we are bringing the ownership of things that were offline, we are bringing them online. Okay, so for example, if I own real estate, for example, and I want a certificate of ownership on that, The idea is that I need to go to the land commission, I don't know, here in Morocco, and I need to do all these papers and everything, okay? And sometimes, maybe there's some human error, and then, you can have a mistake, or something has to be redone, everything. But when you are able to bring some of that ownership on chain, it means that it's infalsifiable, okay? It means that you are able to trace it, it's verifiable online. If you want it to, to have some traceability and some verifiability is there. So you are going to see a lot of shift. For example, you are seeing the whole RWA tokenization. People are now bringing gold on-chain. People are bringing real estate on-chain. People are bringing energy contracts on-chain, and so forth and so forth. So there's going to be this huge wave, to my extent. Stablecoins, RWA today are some of the big leaders when it comes to the blockchain use cases. But I can tell you that the field is moving in such a fast way that they're going to grow, but in the next 5, 10 years, you're definitely going to see new innovations. And these innovations are going to be useful for you and for me.
Thank you, Richard. So just one point, we talked about trust, and trust has multiple layers. And what we trust today might not be trustable tomorrow. I'll come back to, I don't want to scare you, but bottom line, when we say cryptography of today is not cryptography of tomorrow when we're going to bring quantum technologies. So therefore, that's going to be overtaken. However, trust is a concept also. So transparency and how many people are trusting, right? And I would like to ask the audience, because we had this question a couple of times now about the generational gap, right? There are different mindsets. So we'd like to ask the students, right? What do they think about the use of crypto today? Can we please ask one question, please? Is your time? Please raise your hand. Should I go down and ask you directly? Please a question. Mike, this way, please. Thank you. So I would like some people to give us a bit of view of what you think about crypto. Don't be shy in Morocco or in Tangier. Come on, just pass the mic. Hi.
Hello, my name is Nohela Karkari. I'm a student in my first year in Master in Finance. So I can tell that crypto money is the future, I think. We live in that future, and even when it's, I think, risky, but I think maybe they will do something to make it be safe for people to invest in and to use, because I feel it's easier and it's the future.
Thank you
That's
very much.
what I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more comment, please. This side. There's a comment this side, please. Please, hello? Hello? There's a comment here, please.
Hello, everyone. So I would like to thank you all for the information you provided for us today. I don't really have a question because I don't know much about the cryptocurrency. I've never owned any fraction of it or anything. But I have one simple question. Do you think that the cryptocurrency will wipe the money that we use today from the economy? Do you think that real money, paper money, coins will not exist in the future? Thank you so much.
That's a good point. Will cryptocurrency overtake completely what we have? One more. We had some questions also from the audience here, please. So let's challenge a little bit James and Richard, also on their perspective.
Hi, I'm not a student, but I will still ask a question. I'm Lina Hreishi. I'm a VC investor at Ring Capital, and I had a question on the opportunities for VCs and generally investors on the African continent. What are for you the next big use cases that will be scalable and interesting for us? And contrary, what are the blind spots that investors like us tend to underestimate or forget right now? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. That's a good question also. Where are we going to invest? And there's a question on the top there, and one more on the right thereafter.
Hello, my name is Mariam Fassifiri. I'm from Rabat. I would like to start with saying that I think that AI is amazing as long as it's used the right way and the right amount of time. And I'm not good at, it's very technical, all you talked about, and it's very new to me. So I have a few questions that are on a large scale. I'm going to start with the first one, which is we're talking about crypto and digital money. What about the switch? The switch and the way the eldest can get used to using the crypto or digital money. And when I talk about the eldest, it's people starting from 50 years old, because I can see my sister calling me every day just to book her ticket, her train ticket. This is the first question. The second question is that what about the human? Because if crypto takes all the, there is no more human relationship. So this is very good because it makes it easier on everyday needs. But meanwhile, and it happened to me recently, I couldn't book a flight ticket. And when that happens, you don't have anymore anyone to talk to. So what about having crypto on one side and on the other side, thinking about living the human and what human can bring and only human can bring? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. An interesting perspective also with this one. I mean, will crypto come into our day-to-day life, and do we want that? Yes, some more questions there. Come on, we're going to try this. Okay. Just next to it, you have this round. Yes, please. And the young lady there.
So, hello everyone. I'm excited to be here. It's a very exciting and enjoyable event. So I have a question about how to balance between the cautionary approach of governments of countries with the ambition and the ambition of the market. How we can balance between the two, while market and the private sector are taking on more risk, while the government trying to restrict and safeguard its economy.
Okay. Thank you. Are you noting all the questions, right? Are you good with all the questions? We'll take two more, and then we'll give you the time to answer. Okay, the young lady and the last one will be that side.
So first off, thanks a lot for letting me having the access to talk. I want to speak about the younger generation. As we may all know, like all this digital money, the most famous one is in fact the Bitcoin. So do you think as us, the younger generation, is it like still useful to invest in that towards in the future, knowing that most of the successful digital coin have been are at their peak, and that right now it's really hard for us to be able just to buy one Bitcoin. Like one Bitcoin could serve someone during their whole lifetime. So do you happen to see the potential in other digital money as much as the Bitcoin for the younger generation? And do you even happen to see the fall down of the Bitcoin, knowing that it's one of the most famous digital coins? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, thank you. So we have a VC asking where we need to invest, and a young lady also, younger generation asking also where we should invest. And the last question on that side, then we'll go back to our speakers, please. We can try to bring them all together.
Hello, so my name is Lamia Farah. I'm a student at the National School of Management here in Tangier. I would love to thank you for the very valuable information. So my question is, as you said, there is this generational gap thing, and whenever we have a new renovation, we always have this kind of resistance to it. My question is, the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency or all this digital money, I don't have that much background about it. My question is, it's been existing for years. However, we still see this resistance. For example, the transactions are not accepted here in Morocco. If you want to do a transaction, you can't really pay with cryptocurrency. So do we think that this resistance, or why, I don't know, in the next few years we might have this renovation, etc. Do we think that the countries don't really want to include this as a transaction tool for them to protect their own money? Are we afraid that the money is going to lose its value and everyone is going to use the cryptocurrency? So that's my question.
Thank you very much. So we have another question around policy, regulation, innovation, and the resistance. So we'll start with James, please. Make it 2-3 minutes, and then to Richard.
So there's kind of a theme on a few of the questions I'll tackle, which is around the utility of digital currency, its acceptance, its resistance, and the role of government. So first of all, government regulators, they only have two, prudential financial regulation has two primary objectives. So one is to ensure monetary stability for the country, and the second is to protect consumers from being taken advantage of. And so it's in that second one that is really quite difficult, because the amount of, the first one, the amount of impact on instability is insignificant because of the quantity of trade actually being conducted. Other than speculation, the utility of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies in real economy buying and selling is negligible in any economy. But the protection of consumers is really the big one, because again, you know, as I was saying earlier, the challenge on trust of an instrument that you know, has enormous volatility and, you know, relies on the theory of the greater fool, you know, is very concerning. And like I said, if the music stops, it could end very badly for a lot of young people. But yet, like I said, young people are in hope that, you know, there's some solution here. And we need a solution. You know, this is my life's work of 3 decades, to try and find that solution. And we've created a solution called ECO that, you know, at some point, if you had a chance to take a look at, it's quite interesting. But the other point of resistance, so if you own Bitcoin or any other crypto, or even Tether for that matter, or the more established stable coins, I tried for 15 years, literally, from the very beginning on at least a half a dozen significant efforts where we spent a lot of money working with technology aficionados in the blockchain world to harness the blockchain, because we like the blockchain. It's a very into cryptography and this element of potential trust contribution we like very much. But we couldn't get, we focused on big multinational corporations and governments, and we couldn't get the big multinationals to accept it. Not only accept it, whenever I would go and say, look, we've got this new innovation, this ledger, blockchain, they were like, don't even talk to us about that. And then it went from there to, you know, smart contract. Wow, here's an innovation. Don't talk to us about that. They just didn't even want to hear about it. It's changing slowly now, but there's been immense resistance at the large player level. You might be able to go buy a coffee with Bitcoin, but you can't buy a, you know, a generator from GE for Bitcoin.
Thank you, Richard. And maybe on this note, can you also touch about CBDCs and what's happening in Africa around exactly what James is
sure.
on that?
Sure. So just to answer a few questions that were asked quickly here. So there was a question about, can I still invest in Bitcoin?
Yeah, there's a VC question there.
Yes,
you know, they're going to pay you for that afterwards.
I will touch on that. Yeah, but I mean, crypto by nature is highly speculative, right? So, and this is really where I actually totally agree with James. It's highly volatile. So, one thing for sure is that Bitcoin is considered the golden standard of all cryptocurrencies per se. It's finite. It's 21 million of Bitcoins that are going to be minted at the end of the day. I mean, the value has gone from almost $0 to between, you know, $90,000 today, so it's really up to you. But I would say that there are better use cases than actually speculating and investing on that. So that's it. Now, for the question on VCs, basically, I think there are some, currently there are some sectors, you know, where it's really obvious today. You have, for example, remittances, obviously. You know, how you can chip in the fees for that. You have the fact that you want to have exchanges, basically, you know, that are African-centric, basically. What I mean by African-centric is the ability to onboard users, for example, in an easy way. So for example, if you have the largest exchanges now today, it's highly difficult to, it's a little bit more difficult to onboard African users, you know. So for example, why can't African users be able to onboard via mobile money payments or via other instruments, for example? And of course, having exchanges that are regulated. Now that we're seeing a lot more willingness from, you know, government and central banks willing to have, you know, either exceptions, you know, or either the ability to actually regulate through that and issue licenses. So I think there's going to be a few winners, clear winners that are going to emerge. So if we're able to identify, you know, these exchanges that are African-centric, that could be also something that's great. Now, when it comes to some spots that I personally see, other than exchange remittances and cross-border commerce, okay, is going to explode in terms of stable coins. I'm seeing gaming. Gaming, basically, you know, there's a big area of opportunity where people actually are more and more creating their in-gaming currencies, right? I think at some point of time with gaming, prediction markets coming in, there's the need to, you know, have their own currency ecosystems, and this could be huge, actually, also. I'm seeing commodities, you know, what solutions are out there blending commodity and blockchain. Our countries are huge on commodities. There's definitely going to be some use cases on blockchain. So if we have some innovative entrepreneurs who are actually looking at ways to come up with a solution blending blockchain and commodities, that could be interesting. and then finally, I'm seeing regulatory tech, basically. So regulatory tech for millions of reasons. You know, I own my wallet, how can I make it more secure? Can I pay $1 for that? Or institutions are coming on board and they need, you know, better security features or regulatory, you know, tools to be able to attack and address that. I think that's also going to be a very big opportunity for VCs, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, maybe one last contribution about, I think the interaction between humans and crypto, I think there was a question on that. I believe that with each innovation wave, we always find new ways of interaction, okay? So I have this very beautiful example. I think there's a virtual world. I tend to forget the name, but you know, in that virtual world, so they have a virtual universe, right? So you have digital avatars and people that interact every day on a daily basis. So they happen to have one of the highly known digital avatars. I think I think she passed away. Okay, physically she passed away. I think it was on Sandbox, if I remember. Yeah, and what happened is that it was fantastic. What you saw is that in that digital universe, thousands of digital avatars, whether in Australia, in Morocco, in Ghana, came together and actually did a virtual, you know, night of reckoning for that person. It was wonderful, basically, you know. People just coming virtually and saying, okay, goodbye, we miss you, we know you passed away, we love you, and we wanted to express that to you in the virtual world. So there's definitely going to be other ways of human expression with the digital, you know, evolving our art. So that's just a few contributions.
Thank you very much. So yes, tokenized deposits, Bitcoin ETFs, maybe even private corporate currencies that are happening. And of course, as you said, there's a lot of things around real assets. We have one more comment. Yes? Please, the mic. I'll give you my mic. Thank you very much. From our minister, Elizabeth Moreno. Thank you. Big round of applause for us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So good to see you here, Mustafa. Gentlemen, let me come back to a more pragmatic thing. We all know that these technologies, tools, services can definitely support the development of the African continent. No doubt about that. But there is no technology without energy, right? And Richard, I know the name of your company is Re-Energy, right? Re-Energy. We know that only with Congo, for instance, we may electrify more than the continent. But still, their children are using lamps to do their homeworks. And I'm just wondering, knowing that 600 million of Africans do not have access to electricity, are we going to let these inequalities explode? Or do you see the big players, you know, the 5 guys who are multi-billionaires, are you seeing them doing anything for Africa on this stuff apart from saying, please buy our stuff?
Very good point, and it applies to blockchain, crypto, and also AI, actually, right? So please, let's comment on that.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I was last week in Abu Dhabi with the president of Microsoft. And he made a fascinating point. You know, Microsoft is desperate to sell more of their cloud and their products and services into Africa. And they're driving a very big AI agenda in partnership now with the UAE, where they've committed more than $25 billion to drive AI adoption on a broader scale. But they raised this very point that globally, I think it was 1.6 billion people have no electricity. A big portion of that is across Africa. And if you don't have, and there's even a worse issue. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was it moves to 3.2 billion if you take into consideration the inadequate training of skills that people have in order to take advantage of AI capabilities. So the potential risk, while we know AI can just make an incredible difference for productivity of people and businesses and countries, the potential exclusion is an extraordinary problem. So these big companies are looking to how can they impact this, because otherwise, you know, you're going to end up with so much disparity between the haves. All you're doing is accelerating the haves and have-nots, and it's an enormous problem.
It's an enormous problem, like she said, I'm going to repeat it. It's not that difficult to solve if you have all that billions. Richard.
Yeah, I definitely, I think, embrace the opinion of Mrs. Moreno, but I tend to think of...
Don't go, we're going to take a picture now.
I tend to think of things in terms of layers, basically. And I definitely agree that power is like the basic layer on which everything should be built, right? And then on that, you build additional layers, you know, with the digital economy and stuff like that. And I definitely agree that there's lots and tons of money, you know, coming around. To me, it's just a matter of willingness of priorities and how we can really look at, you know, driving further the interest, you know, for some of the big shots, whether the individuals or companies, to be able to partake into, you know, ending the electricity scarcity that our continent is having. Once this is fixed, I think we're going to 10x from there. So I totally agree.
You want to go?
Just one very quick comment about on the energy front. So at this particular gathering, it was an AI-focused gathering, but it was AI and energy. So it was organized by the big oil companies around the world, and it was a two-part thing, one in Washington, D.C. and one in Abu Dhabi. And you know, basically they're just saying, we don't have enough power. We have to come up with innovation to drive power, even just in the U.S., forget about it in Africa, in order to compete in the AI race, because the amount of energy required is exponential. So what you're potentially going to do is starve the actual citizens of the country, because it's all going to data centers to keep in the front of the race. And so in the continent of Africa, this problem is even more grandiose. But here's the solution. Africa, this comes back to now money. Africa is absolutely abundant in what? All kinds of capacity. Human capacity, mineral capacity, sunshine capacity, wind capacity, arable land capacity. Africa is perhaps the richest of the continents of the planet. So if you can come up with a way of unlocking the real economy capacity as money, like it was in the beginning of time, then you now, and this is why the real world assets aspects of blockchain is really quite interesting, because the ability to unlock this capacity as buying power, now you can finance renewable energy at extraordinary levels, not only because you can unlock that, but when you build a renewable energy facility, if it's a Siemens built system, they can tell you within an extraordinarily tight band what the electric output will be. Okay, that's real economy assets. You can finance based on that forward capacity, that infrastructure. So all of this effort to try and bring, you know, GFANs and the trillions of dollars from the biggest pools of capital to Africa to fund renewable energy, forget it. Africa can fund its own renewable energy by using more innovative economic engineered structures.
Thank you.
Like that.
I'm going to stop you. Thank you.
Okay.
But yes, just on the last point though, yes, we want, first of all, let's not forget Africa. That was one point I wanted to mention. And two, yes, we want this energy to be created in Africa and not somewhere in the space, as they are trying to do right now. So we need to figure out how to make it happen here. Thank you very much for all this bright idea. I want to thank everybody. Thank you for everyone to be here today. We're gonna do a last picture. I want you all to stand up. You're gonna all do a reel, right? Yes, it's Friday, and before we all go to prayers or lunch, please stand up. I'm gonna do a mini video. No sound, please stop. Music. Music. All right. We're gonna do a video picture. Come this side. We're gonna turn also. I'm gonna say something, and we're gonna do a test now. When I say MEDays, you're gonna say Africa. MEDays. One more time, MEDays. Africa. And one more time. Africa. All right.
Put your hands up.
Put your hands up. Right, no, this side. This side.
Okay.
No, we